Chrissy and Joe, I'm working with two people, so give me a few minutes, please.
You got it.
They seem to have changed the icons on the bottom of the screen.
Yeah, they did. That's what threw me off a little.
Patio door.
Joe, did you see Nanny Friedlander again?
I think Pat's she's working with two people, so. Just when we get really good at this, we're going to start meeting in person again, I guarantee you.
Can you hear me, Joe?
Yes.
Good, I'm in.
Awesome.
All right. I don't know why my
Click on that video and do settings. I had to do that. I think Joe did some of those icons on the bottom. It's almost like you got to reset your computer.
All right. It's not coming up, but let me see. Where did you go for the
Go
camera?
on the bottom, and when you click on the drop down for video, there should be a button that says settings. Click on that.
That's what I did.
Can you see yourself then, or?
No, shows, nope. Hold on.
And you have an orange triangle in the corner of your box. I don't know if that has anything to do with it.
Now or no?
No. The orange triangle's gone though now.
Yeah, that went away.
Now it's back.
It's back. Mine took like a minute to come up.
Mike, it says that you have low bandwidth.
Oh, I shouldn't. I have very good bandwidth. Hold on, I'll connect on a different plane. Here, hold on. Is it better or no?
Still can't see you.
Wow.
Sounds great.
I don't know.
I would ask the council members to check your emails if you're able to right now from an email that Ms. Clipperton just sent. Thanks, Chrissy.
I'm trying. It's not coming through.
I have Mr. Kelly on the phone too. He's having a problem getting on, but we're working it out.
Okay.
Don't understand why. I'm going to restart the meeting and see what happens.
Yeah, maybe that'll do it. I don't know. Mine was messed up too.
All right, retry it again. says it has video on. It says it's supposed to be recording or showing, but it's not.
Look down at the bottom bar, Mike.
I am. It's just not. It's shows that the video is allowed to go through, but for some reason it's not.
Yeah. I don't know.
I don't know what to say. All right, but you can hear me.
Yes.
Yes. Okay.
And we're just waiting on Pat with Manny. Pat, any update with Manny?
Just 1 second, Joe.
Okay. So any council members who joined late, or didn't hear me when I initially said it, check your email. Miss Clipperton sent out an email in the past few minutes from the Rockaway Unite team about their presentation and what we're going to talk through once the meeting starts.
Okay, can you hear me?
Yes, Manny.
Can anybody hear me?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay,
We can hear you.
now I'm gonna unmute. Good, thanks, Pat.
All right, Joe, that should be it.
Okay, thanks, Pat. I'm going to call the meeting to order. Let's start with the flag salute.
No, I didn't.
I'm picking it up.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America,
to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, liberty, justice for all.
At this point, we're going to take a moment of silence to remember the service and sacrifice of the armed service
I
members.
can't hear anybody.
Manny, can you hear me?
Manny, can you hear?
Joe, I'll call him up and take care of it.
Okay, I'm going to move on. We're going to take a moment of silence to remember the services and sacrifices of the armed service members who protect our nation and the first responders who protect our neighborhoods. Clerk, please take the roll call.
Councilmember Kelly,
Here.
Councilmember Quinn,
Here.
Councilmember Free,
Oh, F3, let me see. Okay,
Manny? He's obviously here.
here.
there you go. Mr. Chris? Councilmember Chris?
Here.
Councilmember Salvo?
Here.
I'm here.
Councilmember?
Here.
Councilmember New?
Here.
Vice President Sackett?
Here, Manny.
Did you hear me?
Yeah, yes, Manny, you can mute yourself now.
Okay, good. I was having trouble with my sound here.
That's okay.
Jackson?
Say it again, Chrissy.
President Jackson?
Here, we have a quorum. This meeting was advertised in the Daily Record and the Star Ledger, the official newspapers for the Township of Rockaway, on September 19th, 2020. Notice was posted on the official bulletin boards of Rockaway Township. Before we get into the presentation by the Rockaway Unites team, I just want to go over a couple of course of business items. Section 2-5.7, Order of Business and Agenda of our Administrative Code identifies the ordinary order of business at any council meeting. Subsection B gives the council president the ability to change the order of business as he deems necessary in order to expedite the completion of business to be considered. Over the past 3 meetings, I've been tracking how much time we spend in old business and new business as a total. We spend no more than 30 minutes on average for the old business, new business, and council reports over the past 3 meetings consistently. There's also seems to be confusion around what's old business and what's new business and what a council report should contain. So based on, there being 9 council members, if you average it out, it basically totals about 3 minutes per council members being spent in our meetings on these 3 sections. So based on all these things and thinking about, getting to our business and doing it efficiently and effectively, I think in accordance with section 2-5.7 subsection B, I'm going to consolidate old and new business as well as council reports into a 5-minute segment for each council member to use however they see appropriate. I'm not eliminating them. I'm just consolidating them with a 5-minute time limit, as subsection B notes, to expedite the completion of business to be considered. That's point 1. Point 2, just I'd like to remind everybody about the memo that went out from me regarding, making our council meetings orderly and effective and expedite business around the process for wishing to speak and being recognized, and the just general decorum and how to conduct and ask questions and be involved in the council meeting. So with those 2 items said, I'm going to move on to the presentation from Rockaway Unites, and I don't know if
Hey, Council President, if I may be recognized.
No, Chrissy, can you see if Ellen Benson is out there?
Ms. Benson, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Yes, Ms. Benson. Are you going to be doing the presentation?
Yes, I am.
Okay. So, go ahead. I would ask everybody who's not speaking to please mute themselves so we can minimize background noise.
Okay. Good evening, everybody. My name is Ellen Benson. I live at 7 Seneca Avenue in White Meadow Lake. And I want to thank President Jackson and Vice President Sackett and all the council for including us in the agenda tonight. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to read a brief statement, and then I'm hoping that you all got the email with our memorandum, with our proposal, but I'll just quickly summarize the, some points so that anybody who didn't have a chance to look at it can, at least get a sense of what we're proposing. So I am speaking tonight on behalf of our group, Rockaway Unites. And just so you know, at the present time, we have over 500 members and we're growing daily. We at Rockaway Unites have been working diligently on developing a proposal to create an anti-racism committee to be part of the Rockaway Township local government. I'm hoping that you got the memo that was sent out this evening, which addresses the organizational structure of the proposed committee. We are in the beginning stages, but we felt that it was important to share our work and to show our commitment to creating change in Rockaway Township. If anyone from the public would like a copy of this memorandum, we would be happy to share it, and they just need to reach out to Rockaway Unites. The anti-racism committee that we are proposing would consist of members from the community and 2 officials from the Rockaway Township Town Council, 1 Republican member and 1 Democratic member. And this committee would work together to eradicate racism in Rockaway. Now, we understand that President Jackson is the one who assigns council members to committees. We would like to have some input into this process. As a matter of fact, we do have a recommendation or recommendations for the committee, and that would be Jonathan Sackett and Adam Salberg. The committee would educate the public on anti-racism, diversity, and inclusion. The main objectives of the committee will include education and community outreach. This is a work in progress, but Rockaway Unites is really dedicated to the creation of the Anti-Racism Committee in the Rockaway Township government. Now, I would just like to summarize the memorandum that we sent. And I think what I'll do, I'm just going to read the mission statement, and then I will quickly kind of go through what we are proposing as far as the organizational structure. The mission statement: residents, educators, and elected officials working together as the Anti-Racism Committee will educate the public, town officials, and the police department and propose policy to ensure that Rockaway Township represents an anti-racist community free of racism, hatred, and intolerance. The Anti-Racism Committee will work with all residents to create an environment that is equal and just for all, and will not discriminate on the basis of race, religion, color, national origin, ethnicity, gender, sexual orientation, or identity or disability. So that's the mission statement. Now, organizational structure. And I want to mention, this is kind of a work in progress. At this point, we have listed 15 potential members, and we realize that this may be kind of a large, unworkable number. Definitely open for further discussion, and some of the roles may be, overlapping. But at this point, we are talking about having at least one teacher from the Rockaway Township Public School System, a Rockaway Township Board of Ed member, a Morris Hills Regional Board of Ed member, a Democratic Rockaway Township Council member, and a Republican Town Council member, a representative from the police department, a student representative from Morris Hills High School, and a student representative from Morris Knolls High School, a representative from the LGBTQIA community. And at this point, we have listed 6 members of Rockaway Unites with different roles. And again, the roles would need to be fleshed out, maybe modified. And as I said before, there may be a lot of overlap. But at this point, we were thinking of having a moderator, an administrative assistant, someone who is kind of identified as the diversity inclusion person, a community outreach person, an education person, and someone with some legal expertise. Now, the objectives of the committee, and I'll just read that to you briefly. Basically, 2 objectives involving education and community outreach. The Anti-Racism Committee would work with local school board to improve the current curriculum to reflect accurate race relations and history in the United States, including but not limited to the implementation of the Amistad Law. I'm assuming people know what the Amistad law is. You know, the law that incorporates African American history into the curriculum. The Anti-Racism Committee will work with local school board to improve the current curriculum to teach Black history as American history through the entirety of the school year, including but not limited to the implementation of the Amistad law. Community outreach. Acting as a nonpartisan organization within the community, the Anti-Racism Committee may serve as a liaison between residents and the police department, elected officials, school administrators, and educators. And lastly, the Anti-Racism Committee will initiate and encourage community activities centered around racial equality and justice. It would be open to all residents, and it would initiate conversations among community members. Finally, I just want to say, as the next step, we are requesting that we'd like to set up a meeting, a small meeting, between maybe three of us from Rockaway Unites. And at this point, it looks like it's Jill Cadman, Heather Falcone, and myself, with the 2 members of the Township Council. And this way it would be a small meeting. We could sit down, we could work out further details and kind of figure out the best way to move forward. So if someone from the town council, or, you know, or Mr. Jackson, or someone could email me with some potential dates and times, hopefully we could set this up. And that's it. And I thank you very much for having me here and giving this presentation. Thank you.
Thanks, Mr. Benson, and we'll have some discussion about this shortly. Just a couple things. I appreciate the time you put in. You obviously put in a lot of work into this, and it's a very good presentation. I would also include whoever we decide will be the representatives or the liaisons to the council. I think too, we'd want to have somebody from administration involved in the meeting, just for the general. You know, there's obviously kind of requirements around these types of committees and working with the township. And so I think it'd be good to have somebody from the administration involved in that small meeting. So I just like to make that suggestion. Does anybody, any other council members have any discussion items around this? Go ahead, Mr. Kelly, you're recognized. You're muted. You're muted.
I do have some of them. And maybe Mrs. Benson can somewhat assist in everything. And first of all, great job, Mrs. Benson. I'm sorry that I didn't catch you at your home last week when I reached out to you, but your daughter was very informative and a very knowledgeable person. It was a great conversation that I had with her. The one thing that you had mentioned, where you have under organizational structure on section 1 and members of the Anti-Racism Committee, you have, before you get into Rockaway Unite members, you have 1 through 9 of entities or individuals. Have any of the 1 through 9 been contacted, or do you need assistance in contacting them?
They have not been contacted yet, no.
Okay. And I'm just wondering that on some of the members for the Anti-Racism Committee, being, I don't know if there's any kind of policy or procedure that may be a conflict with the request of some of these individuals to play a role in the committee. But that was just one thing that I was looking at to see if there was assistance needed to somewhat canvass these individuals or reach out to these different organizations to help you out as well. The other thing is, where you have under the Rockaway Unites the moderator or administrative assistant, would they be one of the two, or if not both, who would basically be the liaison to other organizations? Like, who would be the main contact person in Rockaway Unites?
Well, this again is something that will be fleshed out in more detail. But as I said at the beginning, we're thinking that a small meeting with probably 3 of us from Rockaway Unites and 2 council members can work out some of these details.
Okay. And is there an outreach maybe that before that meeting was to take place, having 2 members of the council as the only elected or appointed officials, would it be beneficial to maybe have the maybe members of the school, if their meetings are somewhat close to what ours is? I don't have their schedule in front of me, to where you have a meeting of the minds of additional entities, as well as 2 members of the council too. And then 2, is there a possibility that the meetings can take place via Zoom, and schedule around that, so that you could kind of like run on your feet and hit the pavement and go right now, rather than taking some additional time?
I'm sorry, I didn't understand that last statement.
Is it something, rather than try to have a physical meeting of some sort of 5 people, maybe a Zoom meeting or a virtual meeting that could take place where everybody, it's accommodating in their homes, rather than try to schedule to have a meeting in person with amongst each other?
Yes, I think that we were thinking of a Zoom meeting.
Okay. I really don't have too much more. I think what you have put together is great, with regard to the efforts and the message that you're trying to push and moving forward. So I thank you with that, but I don't have any other questions.
Thank you, Mr. Collins. Anybody else have any questions?
Yeah, Council President, I did just have one question. Again, thank you, Ms. Benson. I think this is great. I'm honored that my name was mentioned. Of course, I'd be happy to help in any way. I apologize if I missed it, but do we have any members of the local clergy involved?
Actually, we had not included any members of the local clergy. That's certainly a good thought.
Okay.
Anything else, Mr. Stalberg?
No, thank you. I think that, yeah, I would love, I'm sure the rabbis and clergy would love to, be part of this, and I think that might be something to consider. Thank you.
Yes, I agree with you.
Any other questions from the council? Does anybody have any objections to Mr. Sackett and Mr. Salberg being the liaisons? If not, I'm good with what I'd like to suggest is possibly either one of you take the lead and connect with Miss Benson, and I would definitely try and schedule a meeting and include someone from administration, just to make sure we're covering everything and doing everything the right way.
May I ask a question? When you say someone from administration, do you mean the mayor, or who do you mean?
Business administrator, mayor, somebody of that nature.
Now, would they be an official voting member of the committee, or can
No, this is just for the initial meeting, because there's some structural things in how we run our town and all that we have to make sure we're adhering to.
I understand.
So, yeah, they wouldn't be part of the committee, but I'd want them involved in this the early meetings you're having with the liaisons. Is that okay? Okay. So Adam or Jonathan, I'll let you guys figure that out.
Certainly.
Miss Benson, thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Okay. Next agenda item. Councilmember Tucker M. Kelly request for indemnification. Mr. Kelly is requesting indemnification for any and all past, present, and future legal fees and expenses that he has incurred or may incur in defending against or appealing the censure of him on September 8, 2020, a copy of which was previously provided to the township. Do we want to have any discussion on this?
I'd like to have some discussion with that, Council President.
Go ahead, Mr. Kelly.
Well, first, Council President, I have concerns even with your opening about your created policy and procedures and memos.
We're talking about this motion, Mr. Kelly.
Well, it is, because it reflects to that. So I just want to make sure that you're not minimizing my time and violating my First Amendment to be able to address something rather than put a time limit, especially under the totality of the circumstances. One, My biggest concern right now is I have you as the council president that had requested the legal counsel to create this resolution. And then we have the participation of legal counsel, Mr. Yatrofano, that assisted in creating this resolution and drafting it in its formality to present it onto the agenda for a vote. Then we have our same legal counsel who then creates an opinion, obviously negative on the situation towards me. The conflict can't be any more clearer from what's going on here. And then you're asking the members of the council who voted, and there was a wrong vote in the opinion from Mr. Yatrofano. There were 7 yeses, not 8. 1 abstention, of course, 1 no. Now you're asking these same members of council who voted against this to actually come up with the indemnification and vote on that. Again, the appearance of conflict to me is overwhelming. So my bigger concern is the process that took place. There was no rice notice, obviously, for the initial component of it. There's no rice notice now affording me the opportunity to have it open to the public or in closed session. You've minimized my ability to speak, my First Amendment. You've made accusations towards me in this resolution that have no proofs, no date and time, no alleged victim, no incident itself. It's kind of like you just threw as much as you possibly can to see what sticks on the wall, and somewhat rehearsing with other members to vote in favor of what you're doing here. So I think the concern that we're having moving forward, because of, in my opinion, you just tried to publicly humiliate me with a resolution, rather than accept the fact that I do have questions. I do represent my constituents in my 6th ward, and you constantly silencing me and then not affording me the right to speak or cutting me off is disenfranchising my constituents as well, since I'm the vocal component for them. So my suggestion to you is either A, grant me the indemnification for something further that may result in this, which I believe is going to happen, or 2, I would then maybe perhaps make a motion, if I were you, Council President, to rescind your resolution R20-160. And since you probably are going to admit it, but even the acts that you have mentioned in there are acts that you actually committed yourself as the council president and a sitting council member prior to your position as a council president. Now, when we went down with the litigation against Mr. Jeniak in MRSL 2112, which was consolidated, it was something similar of the embarrassment that you wanted to portray against an individual that was vocal. And in that, you received an opinion, you made a decision to move forward and remove a sitting council member illegally. And here you may be doing the same thing, only for what? What's the gain that you're getting out of this? We know that you don't like me, Council President. It's obvious. You've mentioned it to other people. You have it posted on social media through other areas and avenues. So is it really worth, for all the money that you're going to spend of the taxpayers' money, to actually institute this and move forward, rather than say, hey, Mr. Kelly, I was just upset. You embarrassed me. You brought up some things that perhaps weren't good to the town about the township attorney billing us for a meeting that he didn't attend virtually. Maybe some of your writing or some of your information that you gave, which was inaccurate. Maybe you don't like that, but that's what we're here for. It's constructive criticism. And maybe perhaps you can grow up a little bit and recognize that we do make mistakes, myself included. But in this case, we have just a lot of issues here. The code, what you're doing about eliminating the speech and creating rules. And I just think that this is going to be a waste of time. And what you're going to do, probably like you normally do after a council meeting, you play Monday quarterback. You're going to chastise me for protecting my rights, whether it be speaking openly or actually filing litigation in prerogative writ to challenge this resolution that I think arbitrarily was just an act of hatred towards me by you. And I think the other council members may have been uncomfortable. I know Mr. Brooks abstained for whatever reason it be. But moving forward, I think you're just going to create more animosity and more issues with this of what you did. So I just want to recognize I don't appreciate what you did or what you're doing. And to give me a small time frame to respond to you from my request for indemnification last week, it's concerning to me. It's almost like do as I say, not as I do in your mentality.
Any other council members wish to comment?
I'm not done yet, Mr. President. I was just getting my papers. With this, have you presented this to our insurance company? Mr. Jackson?
I'm not here to answer your questions. I'm letting you speak, Mr. Kelly.
I'm asking you a question. Whether your answer or not is your prerogative.
Well, I'm not answering.
You're not going to answer me if you pass it over to the insurance company. Have you spoken to our town attorney with regard to this? Mr. Jackson?
I'm not answering your questions, Mr. Kelly.
You're not going to answer any questions I have with regard to indemnification? I mean, you reached out to me to ask me questions. So you think it's right as a council?
Kelly, you're already insinuated you're getting ready to sue me, my employer in the township. I'm not answering any of your questions.
So then don't you think that you're in conflict right now for even participating in this? I mean, you do admit to the fact that you created the resolution and worked with the council, the legal counsel, Mr. Yachafano. That's accurate?
Let me know when you're done, Mr. Kelly.
I'm asking you a question, Mr. President.
Not answering.
You're not going to answer any of my questions?
No.
Okay. This is the problem then. So you won't answer me if we contacted the insurance company.
I don't think I'm the problem.
You won't answer me if in fact you had discussions between you and the town attorney with regard to my indemnification and or the resolution that had taken place that you created. You haven't answered anything about my rights notice. Have you provided me with a rights notice that I didn't receive? Council President? I'm very shocked that you orchestrated this whole entire thing with our town attorney spending taxpayers' dollars. You were so strong in to pass this resolution and write it, but yet you won't answer any questions in reference to it. Why won't you answer any questions, Mr. President?
Let me know when you're done, Mr. Kelly.
So those answers to those questions would help other council members maybe perhaps have a vote tonight.
Well, they can ask they could ask questions to me when they're ready. When you're done speaking, I'll let anybody else ask questions.
And will you answer their questions?
I'm not answering your question.
So you're insinuating that you may answer their questions, but you won't answer mine.
I'm not insinuating anything.
Well,
let me know when you're done.
Well, that's it, Council President. I yield the floor.
Okay. Does anybody else have any questions? Okay. With that said, Mr. Yachafano, are we looking to, do we need to make a motion on this, or? You're muted. You're muted.
I would suggest the council proceed as follows. Number one, I'd respectfully suggest that the council move into the record and seek incorporation of the minutes for my memo to the full council dated September 17, 2020. Following the movement of that memo into the record, I would suggest that it's appropriate, if no other member of the council has comments or questions, that a motion be made to act on the request for indemnification submitted by Councilman Kelly.
Council President, I have a question to Mr. Yachafano's statement. It deals with the policy and procedures of this.
I'd like to make a motion to Mr. Giacomo's memo dated 9/17/2020 into the record regarding this matter.
Council
Is there a
President,
second?
discussion, Council President, on that? You're waiving one's right
We
to
need
privilege.
to get a second, Mr. Kelly, before we have any discussion, okay? You know that. Is there a second?
Seconded.
Move for discussion, Council President.
Mr. Kelly, could you please hold on one moment? I'm sorry. Was that second, Mr. Salberg?
It was Mr. Salberg, yes. Go ahead, Mr. Kelly, you have 5 minutes.
There's no time limit on that, Council President, but I appreciate it. When you're moving this right now, Council President, you're waiving my right of privilege. I'm not willing to waive my right for a privileged document that were received here. I believe that's 2A84-20. Are you right now waiving, so people know what they're voting on? Are you waiving one's privilege right now for a legal opinion by our town attorney? Council President?
I'm not answering you, Mr. Kelly. Mr. Giacomo, if you have anything you want to add, feel free to.
I'm not done with the floor, Mr. President.
I would remind
other
the
thing-
council president that he has control of the floor at all times.
No, he doesn't. Not when I'm talking, not to be interrupted under Code 2514.
Make your
You know better than that.
Make your point quickly, Mr. Kelly.
And Mr. Council President, with regard to this motion, do you recognize that the council is different than the township? Are they two different entities? Is our governing body the Township of Rockaway? Council President?
I'm not answering your questions, Mr. Kelly. You can keep asking all night. I'm not answering it.
Okay, that's perfect. That's all I was looking for. Thank you, Council President.
Yep. Any other discussion? Okay, with that said, clerk, could you take the roll call to move Mr. Giacomo's memo from 9/17/2020 into the record?
Councilmember Kelly?
No.
Councilmember Quinn?
Yes.
Councilmember Friedlander?
Yes.
Councilmember Chris?
Yes.
Councilmember South?
Yes.
Councilmember Brooks?
Abstain.
Councilmember Noon? Councilmember Noon? Vice President Hackett?
Yes.
President Jackson?
Yes, that's 7 yeses, 2 noes, and 1 abstention. Motion carries. Next, I'd like to make a motion on voting on Mr. Kelly's request for indemnification. The motion would be to deny the request for indemnification. Is there a second?
Second.
Discussion, Council President?
No. You've had plenty of time.
You're doing a different motion here. This is a different thing to debate. I asked for debate and calling for a discussion on this motion.
You spoke for almost 8 minutes before on this topic.
Not on this motion, Council President. Mr. President, are you the one who made my first amendment?
Mr. Giacomo, am I required to give him time to speak again?
This is on the motion. It's your discretion to allow any member of the council the right to speak on the motion to deny the request for indemnification.
So you've had plenty of time to speak. You've spoken your piece.
This is a different motion, Council President.
It's a different motion, but you spoke on this topic before we even
No,
started.
I did not. You didn't even hear what I said.
Clerk,
Are you infringing on my First Amendment, Council President?
Please roll call. This is on to deny the request for indemnification.
Councilmember Kelly?
Abstain. I should vote.
Councilmember Quinn? Councilmember Quinn?
You're muted, Jack.
I said yes.
Councilmember Friedlander? Councilmember Freeland.
Can you hear me? Yes.
Yes.
Councilmember Chris. Councilmember Sauber.
Yes.
Councilmember Brooks.
Abstain.
Councilmember Noon.
Yes.
Vice President Sackett.
Yes.
President Jackson.
Yes, that's 7 yeses, 2 abstentions. The request for indemnification is denied. Next item is, Mr. Fana, maybe mute. I know we're getting feedback again. Next are ordinances to adopt. We have O-20-19, ordinance providing for the restoration of the Fort Fache Manor House in and by the Township of Rockaway in the County of Morris, New Jersey, and appropriating $649,044, therefore constituting proceeds of grants from the Morris County Historic Preservation Trust and the Preserve New Jersey Historic Preservation Fund. Have a motion?
Yes.
Have a motion, Mr. Freelander?
Yes, sir, to adopt.
Second.
Mr. Quinn. Chrissy, could you go through the public and see if there's any public discussion?
Sure. I have call-in user 3. Call-in user 5. Eva? Alan Benson?
Yes.
Would you like to speak about ordinance O-20-19?
No.
Janice Teitel?
No, I can't.
Jill Cadman?
That's it?
Jill Cadman?
No, thank you.
Lily Sweet?
Yes.
Lisa Salberg?
Congratulations on your comment.
Martha Topper?
No comment.
Mary Finkenor?
No comment.
Pat Degnan?
No comment.
Patrick Egan?
No comment.
And that's it, Joe.
Okay, any council discussion? Okay, with that said, clerk, take the roll call.
Councilmember Kelly?
Yes.
Councilmember Quinn?
Yes.
Councilmember Freelander?
Yes.
Councilmember Chris?
Yeah.
Councilmember Sauber?
Yes.
Councilmember Brooks?
Yes.
Councilmember Noon?
Yes.
Vice President Sackett?
Yes.
President Jackson?
Yes, that's 9 yeses, motion carries. Next is B, O-20-20, ordinance amending Chapter 7, Article 2 of the revised ordinance of Township Rockaway in order to add new ordinance section 63, establishing a Title 39 enforcement plan for the regulation of parking, standing, ingress, egress, and the flow of traffic in private property owned by PMIG DPNJ NJ LLC, identified on the official tax map of Rockaway Township as Block 11509, Lot 1, more commonly known as 401 Route 15 North. Can I have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Second.
Okay, go for public discussion.
Who'd you put on that for discussion?
Was that you, Mr. Kelly?
It was.
Mr. Kelly, could you please hold on 1 second? I did not catch who the second was.
That was me.
Mr. Kelly.
Thank you.
And then if you could poll the public.
He was caught on tape. This was a year ago, talking to.
You're not muted.
Chris,
Calling user 3. Calling user 5. Ellen Benson.
Maybe I better sign.
Janice Patel.
I'm not in here now.
Jill Cadman.
Comment.
Lily Sweet.
No comment, thank you.
Lisa Salberg.
No, thank you.
Martha Topper.
No comment, thank you.
Mary Finkner.
No comment.
Pat Degnan.
No comment.
No comment.
That's it, Joe.
Okay, any council discussion? Okay, with that, please take the roll call.
Councilmember Kelly.
Yes.
Councilmember Quinn.
Yes.
Councilmember Friedlander.
Yes.
Councilmember Chris.
Yes.
Councilmember Salberg.
Yes.
Councilmember Brooks.
Yes.
Councilmember Noon. Councilmember Noon.
You're muted, Mary.
Yes.
Vice President Sackett.
Yes.
President Jackson.
Yes, that's 9 yeses. Motion carries. Next is CO-20-21, amending and supplementing Chapter 15 Sewer and Water, Articles 6.1 and 12.2 of the revised general ordinances of the Township of Rockaway. Can I have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
I'm sorry, my audio keeps breaking up. I didn't catch that second again.
I thought it was Manny.
Me, can you hear me?
Thank you.
Yeah, it was Manny, yeah.
Yeah.
So if you go through the public and Chrissy, that'd be great.
Calling user 3. Calling user 5. Ellen Benson.
No comment.
Janice Patel.
No comment.
Jill Cadman.
No comment, thank you.
Lily Sweet.
No comment, thank you.
Lisa Salberg.
Thank you.
Martha Topper.
No comment, thank you.
Finkner.
No comment, thank you.
Pat Degnan,
No comment.
Patrick Egan.
Comment.
That's it, Joe.
Okay, any council discussion?
I do, Council President.
Go ahead, you're recognized, Mr. Kelly.
You know, under this ordinance, we have 15-12.2. What was the need to actually amend this ordinance? Hello? Council President?
Who are you directing the question to, Mr. Kelly?
Well, it has to go through you, so
Who would
do
you
you
like?
have an idea as to why we're amending this? I mean, it's just one small section, I believe, that's in italic, which it says here, a copy of the recorded easement is required to be provided to the township prior to authorization of the special permission connection permit. Was there an incident or was there a subject property that triggered this to create this change or amendment?
Mr. Mayor, would you or any member of your administration choose to answer this?
I'm going to speak to that. What we're finding is that we think that this will help any residents who may encounter any issues. Some folks have. Can you hear me?
I can.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Some folks have septic systems, and sometimes those septic systems can fail. And I'm just giving you a general example. This is not the only example. We're trying to help residents in particular areas if there's an issue, and our town attorney, Mr. Giacifano, can chime in if he sees fit. We're trying to help our residents in certain areas if they have a problem with their property in terms of their septic. If there's certain issues, I'm not going to get into the minutia of it, and there's a connection nearby that might give them, if we go through each case individually, if we go through each case individually and there's a potential to help that resident to possibly hook up to the town system if there's a need or an exigent circumstance per case, they might be able to do that. So we're trying to help our residents should they encounter any issues with their source.
Mr. Mayor, with that, are we like referring to 95 Garrison maybe?
No, I'm not. I'm just referring to generally what this ordinance is going to cover, what this is going to do.
Oh, okay, because our code is pretty clear that once there's a sewer line that's available within 100 feet of that property, they have to connect within 6 months. Now, if you recall, well, maybe you don't recall because you're on sewer over there by Mechanic Street before you moved over to Arlene. But the White Meadow Lake community, there were a lot of people that put a septic in to get a CO on the new house they built, and then within a year they had to abandon that $20,000 or $25,000 system they just installed to connect to our sewer line, and then have to pay a sewer assessment with that. Now, I'm aware of 95 Garrison where there's some financial hardship for that person, I believe, for connection over to that sewer line, which is the Bobbyville issue in Mr. Quinn's ward. But we also had one over on Green Pond, on the lower end of Green Pond, just before Meriden Road, where the sewer line is actually on the northbound side. And right before Christ Church, there's an easement that goes through there. There's no residents that are on that side prior to Christ Church from Commons Way. And that person had a failed system. It was a house sale. They were allowed to put a new septic system in rather than go over the county road and stuff like that. And we also have another property on Sanders Road that was required to get an easement and make connection, went through the Board of Adjustment and rescinded his application after we got an approval. And it just seems like there had to be an issue. Like there's only a couple of people that may have had an issue. I still didn't get the answer. What was the triggering component to change this right now? Did something happen in the last 2 months or 3 months?
Mr. Kelly, I'm just going to speak in general terms of this. Read the ordinance. If you like it, you can vote for it. If not, then, vote how you choose.
Well, I'm just asking questions that would help me vote.
They're not questions that are pertinent to the ordinance right now. Those are specifics. This ordinance helps residents in the town, potentially can help residents. Each case is different and unique. And the administration will evaluate if people come to us, residents come to us with particular issues. We will evaluate them individually through our engineering department, through our water department, or it'll be collaborative. So I'm not going to get into anyone's particular property, but thank you for, the history lesson of those other properties. But I'm just going to move on with the ordinance. If you guys want to vote on it, you can. If not.
Well, I understand that, and I still have the floor, Mr. Mayor. I appreciate that. But one thing, and I'll leave it at this, Council President. I mean, here was the members in White Meadow Lake that weren't afforded this type of an opportunity and spend tens of thousands of dollars. And I am dealing with the change, the italic portion of this ordinance, which is my questions that you're not answering. And it's problematic for me. Am I willing to help everybody? Absolutely. I think it's great, but I just have some questions that, all of a sudden this came out of nowhere where there's been potential issues for people with abandoned septics and failure systems and everything else. Well, why now all of a sudden? Something happened, that's all. And you don't know it or you don't want to answer it. It's no big deal.
No, Council President.
Thank you, Mr. President. I yield my time.
Thank you.
Council President.
Mayor Puzio.
Can I have our town attorney, Carl Perone, speak on this?
Sure, go ahead. Mr. Perone, you're recognized. Unmute yourself. You're still muted if you're speaking, Mr. Perone. He is muted. Click the mute button on the bottom of your screen. Mayor Puzio, I think he's not going to speak on it.
Got it.
Okay.
I'm sorry, I was clicking the wrong button.
Yeah.
Yeah, what happened here is that an issue came up, and I don't remember what the exact property was. And Gene Garabrin had called me, and we were looking at the ordinance. And the ordinance spoke of a special permission with no definition as to what a special permission would be. It also did not address issues relative, not the way this one does, specifically to easements that would be necessary to be obtained if in fact a sewer line did not run through a right-of-way or an area where the township already had an easement. It really is meant to address situations where individuals who do have a sewer problem that has been described at length by Mr. Kelly would be able to secure a line from the township, but it would limit the township's obligations to run a lateral to the edge of the right-of-way or an easement that was in the possession of the township. And then it would be the responsibility of whatever individual was interested in securing a township sewer access to secure an easement from an individual whose private property would have to be crossed in order for the person who is having sewer problems to be connected. If you look at the old ordinance was totally non-specific about what constituted special permission. This gives guidance to the administration as to what special permission would be, and it also ensures that appropriate avenues for investigation will be followed before a permit is issued. And that's why the ordinance was changed.
Thank you, Mr. Perone. Clerk, unless there's other questions by other council members, you can take the roll call.
Councilmember Kelly?
You're muted.
I was asking if there was a fee, Council President.
We're taking the roll call now. You can follow up.
I'm going to abstain.
Councilmember Quinn?
Yes.
Councilmember Lander?
Yes.
Councilmember Chris?
Yes.
Councilmember Salberg?
Yes.
Councilmember Brooks? Councilmember Brooks?
I said yes.
Yeah, we can hear you.
Councilmember Noon?
Yes.
Vice President Sackett?
Yes.
President Jackson?
Yes, it's 8 yeses, 1 abstention, motion carries. As we go into open to the public, before we get to the people on the webinar or anything, Mrs. Seeger, do you know if we got any emails with questions?
I'm just checking. Just a second. There wasn't any before, but let me check now again. Questions? No, Council President, there are none.
Okay. All right, Ms. Clipperton, you could start, throwing comments to the public.
Calling user 3? Calling user 5? Ellen Benson?
No, thank you.
Janice Hytel?
No, thank you.
Jill Cadman?
No, thank you.
Lily Sweet?
No comment.
Silver?
Yes.
Mary Finkner?
No comment.
Pat Degnan? Pat Degnan?
No comment.
Patrick Egan?
No comment.
And that's it.
Ms. Clipperton, I made a request earlier via email.
As we've gone through every meeting, and it's the opinion of our township attorney that you should not be recognized as a member of the public in the open to public section.
Council President, you're not allowing me to speak? You're muted, Council President. You're muted, Council President.
Our next section is the consent agenda. It's R20-165, R20-166, R20-167, R20-168, R20-169, R20-170, R20-171. Can I have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Clerk, you can take the roll call.
Councilmember Kelly?
There was one business that's in there. I have to abstain.
Then I need you to ask to have that item removed. It's an all or nothing.
I'm just going to abstain.
Okay, thank you. Councilmember Quinn?
Yes.
Councilmember Friedlander?
Yes.
Councilmember Chris?
Yes.
Councilmember Salberg?
Yes.
Councilmember Brooks?
Yes.
Councilmember Noon? Councilmember Noon?
Yes.
Vice President Sackett?
Yes.
President Jackson?
Yes, that's 8 yeses, 1 abstention, motion carries. Next is 11 appointments. Board of Assessment Commissioners, R20-172. Resolution appointing members of the Rockaway Township Board of Assessment Commissions. Commissioners for local improvements in accordance with Chapter 2-34, Article 8, Section 2-34.2 of the revised general ordinances of the Township of Rockaway. Could we first get a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Discussion?
Yep. So we got 5 minutes of discussion from everybody. Go ahead, Mr. Kelly, you're recognized.
Do we have a member that we have in
What was your question?
I said, do we have a member in mind? Do we have a name?
Mr. Mayor?
I'm sorry?
Mayor Puzio, do we have a? I don't.
The recommended members to be appointed to the Board of Assessment Commissioners are listed in the resolution.
Do we have a resume? I mean, the mayor was kind enough to provide us a very thorough resume of somebody for the rec committee. Do we have any resumes from these individuals?
Same resumes from last year.
Honestly, I don't know that until I have them in there.
It's the same.
It'd be nice to have provided with it. And who was who selected the names? Mr. Sackett?
Last year?
No. These individuals that were here, we're just reappointing the new individuals?
Looks like.
Yeah.
All right, well, you guys don't seem to know the answer the way you're answering it.
It's
Yes.
Okay,
Council
thank you,
President?
Mr. Freelander.
Council President.
Yes, Mayor Puzio.
May I be recognized?
Absolutely.
It's just a reappointment of the same folks that were on
That's
last
all.
year. We just have to reappoint them every year.
Okay. Thank you. Do you have anything else, Mr. Kelly?
Do we have any meeting dates in regards to the commissioners?
I believe the last I heard, I remember from the public reach out, I believe the last I heard was they were looking for dates in early November. We were hoping to have a update back to the council before the end of the calendar year.
Is there a reason why it's been so long since we've actually had a meeting?
From what I was told, there were conflicts with people's calendars and getting them all together.
Well, you know, it's funny because some of those assessment of those commissioners attend our meetings and members of the public and stuff like that. And we also have a council member. Couldn't they have a meeting like a little before our own council meeting? We used to do that with budget meetings like we had on February 25th and 27th of this year. It just seems kind of a little ridiculous of not getting this together when we're talking over almost $700,000 and, you know, almost 4.5 years of legal reviewing this, and we're not anywhere yet. So is there a way maybe we can get a definitive date by the end of the week? Should be pretty easy to get schedules together.
Thank you for your comments. I'd leave it to Freelander if he can,
Yes.
if he has the ability to get back to the council before the end of the week when your next scheduled meeting is, that'd be great.
Yeah, can I say something?
Sure, go right ahead.
Yes, right now, they're finalizing the dates for the beginning of November. Reason so, court dates with the attorney is backed up in October. Mr. Buzak had a lot of issues with what's going on. We finally got, last month, we did get the final drafts from him. And now everybody is working on picking a date, and it'll definitely be the beginning of November. As soon as I hear something, I'm in contact with the committee members constantly. I will get back to everybody.
Thank you, Mr. Freelander.
You're welcome.
Any other questions? With that said, clerk, please take the roll.
Councilmember Kelly?
No.
Councilmember Quinn?
Yes.
Councilmember Freelander?
Yes.
Councilmember Chris?
Yes.
Councilmember,
Yes.
Councilmember Brooks,
Yes.
Councilmember Noon,
Yes.
Vice President Sackett,
Yes.
President Jackson,
Yes, that says 1 no, appointments are made. Next is B, mayor's appointment and consent of council. Citizens Recreation Committee, unexpired 1-year term ending 12/31/2020. Kevin Tarantino, can I have a motion?
I got a motion.
Okay, Mr. Kelly, who's seconding?
Move.
Second.
All right, Manny.
Aye.
First, let me see, Mr. Mayor, do you have any comments you want to make?
I don't. We spoke with Kevin. I had someone from the Citizens Rec Committee speak with Kevin, just to let him know what what expectations are. I was very pleased that we had someone who volunteered. Volunteers are very few and infrequent these days. So I want to thank Kevin for putting his name in and being willing to step up to the plate. Thank you.
Any commentary or any discussion from the council?
Council President?
Yes, Mr. Sackett, you're recognized.
Just real quick, Mayor, I see it's through the end of the year. It's for someone who had resigned, or this wasn't sure because I see it's only 12/31/20.
Yeah, it's a year appointment. People, we had openings. A few people did resign, so I wanted to get a few people in queue because come the new year, I have to do all of us, the council and the administration has to redo certain appointments.
Okay.
Thanks.
Okay, cool. Thanks.
I had something.
Go ahead, Mr. Kelly, you're recognized.
I don't know if anybody had an opportunity, and this is what I love to see. Mr. Tarantino submitted his resume, and I know we agree and disagree, or whatever have you, but Mr. Mayor, this resume is impressive from everything that he's done from a long time ago to currently. So when I read through this whole entire thing, I couldn't think of anybody better to put in this position based on the information that was provided. And I just hope in the future that we get some information like this so we have a better ability to select who we were going to put on, not just the rec committee, but any committee for that matter. So thank you for that selection, Mr. Mayor. And just very impressive. And if you see Mr. Tarantino, tell him the same.
Sure. Thank you.
Any other commentary? Hey, clerk, you could take the roll call, please.
Councilmember Kelly,
Yes.
Councilmember Quinn,
Yes.
Councilmember Friedlander,
Yes.
Councilmember Chris,
Yes.
Councilmember Salberg,
Yes.
Councilmember Brooks,
Yes.
Councilmember Noon,
Yes.
Vice President Sackett,
Yes.
President Jackson,
Yes, that's not yeses. The appointment is made. Congratulations, Mr. Tarantino. Next, per my opening statement, we're going to have every council member 5 minutes to talk about whatever you want to talk about. We'll start with Mr. Prince.
Okay, thank you, Council President. First and foremost, to those who celebrate Shana Tova, Easy Fast coming next week. I would like to bring up that these meetings on WebEx they're getting increasingly more painful technology-wise. It's very difficult to hear. I'd like to suggest at least opening a discussion, not right now, just people start thinking about possibly a return to in-person just for council. We could possibly stream and take the rest over the phone. I would just like to start considering other alternatives as this is getting increasingly, again, more painful. And at the least, if there are members of the public that wish to speak, I would request that we only recognize those people that are willing to log in with their name. instead of going, colon user 1, colon user 2. Again, if they want to speak, absolutely, everybody has the right to, but they should at least be identifying themselves within the WebEx. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Quinn.
Yes, thank you. There was no planning board meeting this month, and football, cheerleading are continuing, and they are still looking forward to an October 1 start date. Lacrosse and hockey has started, and soccer is looking for volunteers to coach. So anybody that's out there, if you're interested, please get in touch with the soccer program. Last week, Mr. Kelly had brought up about our ordinance R2138. The committee had received a letter from the Department of Public Works and Administration dealing with buying 2 tandems and 1 single axle dump. They were priced at the $46,000. If we had bought 1 of those, it would have cost us $184,000. And they put in their this letter, that this fleet replacement program will move them into 2022 before they're asking for anything else. This equipment came with tires, rims, blades for the snow plows with plows. It was an excellent buy by the Director of Public Works, who took a mechanic up there with him to look at the equipment to make sure it was good. And they hardly used that equipment. It's like brand new. So I'm glad we moved it, and those were the answers to his question. Thank you very much, and have a great holiday coming up.
Thank you, Mr. Quinn. Mr. Friedlander.
Yes, I'm on. Okay.
You're on.
Thank you, Mr. President. I just want to say, I want to thank the current council for all its support with the Historical Society, supporting that ordinance. I know it's grant money, but I go back with them since '93, and the Faish House and the organization has done a tremendous job moving forward this last 20 some odd years. Second thing is a library report. We had our library meeting last night. A couple things. They're talking about some improvements inside the children's area. Talking about scanners when they get some people in that no one is touching the books or the library cards. It just hits the scanner and everything is done that way. But the most important thing that the library voted on last night is, I mentioned phase 2 and go into phase 3 and then 4. This they consider phase 3.5, and it will be probably advertised on the library board. They're opening up probably October 5th. They're going to have limited to 2 computer spots, 45-minute sequels, and they're going to have 6 patrons allowed for 15-minute browses. Total 45 minutes. They'll be in conjunction with the 2 at the computer and the 15-minute browses. And at the end of the 45 minutes, out, and then they'll spray down and clean up and then do it again. So it's a temporary thing, but it's moving in the right direction. There's only we're only one of 10 libraries not allowed allowing patrons inside. So this October 5th will work in opening up and letting some people come in during those hours. It's a move in the right direction with what we're faced with. And that's really it. That's the 2 meetings.
Thank you, Mr. Friedlander. Thank you. Mr. Kelly.
things, old business, new business, and of course my reports. I think it's very unfortunate you're putting unlawful limits on our discussions that we can talk. So I am going to try to get as much as I can in there. And I hope that, because some of it's about veterans, some of it's about our administration, and some business and whatnot. So moving forward, I couldn't agree more with Mr. Kritz about how painful it is using WebEx. I know that's something that you use with ADP, Council President, and kind of pushed it over into us, but it's just not working for whatever reason it is. It's frustrating for our clerk, it seems like, our users and the public, as well as the council. And it may be great optics for you and ADP, but it ain't working for us. The other thing, Mr. Quinn, I believe you missed the boat on the question I asked. I wasn't asking about the value of what we received. Obviously, I know all those values that are there. I also participated in getting the 25-yard dump garbage truck that we had from Dover and securing that with Dover officials last year. So I get all that. My question to you, Mr. Quinn, was a report of the vehicles that were being replaced, not the ones that we were receiving. And I still didn't see that from administration or you. Now, getting into, we have a clerk that had, a deputy clerk that had just recently left. We also have a notice on the League of Municipalities to fill that position there. It couldn't be a worse job notice out there trying to secure people. No need for any kind of requirements and job structure. I just think we could have done better with that notice. But moving into the next month or so, we may have a temporary void with our clerk in our clerk's office. And knowing that our administrator is also an RMC and the taxpayers pay for that continued certification of that RMC of our administrator, could we actually put that RMC that our administrator holds to good use, and maybe she can help offset some of the workload that the clerk's office is going to receive in the next couple of months? Something to look at. We also have the fire department banquet. I haven't got any notice if we're moving forward with the fire inspection in the banquet, or if that's been canceled, and if we received a refund on that. The other thing I had mentioned during the Memorial Day period, just beforehand, I would love to do something for our veterans to recognize them, whether we put something on our webpage with everybody's name in Rockaway Township who's a veteran, or a fallen veteran coming up for Veterans Day in November. That gives us a little time from now to then to do something of that nature, which would be nice. And it would be a good boilerplate to continue that each time we come around for Memorial Day and for Veterans Day for years to come. I also wanted to talk about Oprah. I was cut off last time about Oprah, but I think it would be imperative that we create an Oprah record custodian in the police department. Doing an analysis, there are so many municipalities that have its separate custodian for the police department. It would also take a lot of workload off of our clerk's office, especially a lot of them are attorneys and solicitors that are seeking information and documentation, as well as realtors to do that. The other thing I had a question on, I'm still waiting to hear if we've got a refund from our town attorney for not participating in the virtual meeting on the 23rd of June. I haven't seen that. And Council President, maybe you can help me, because as a council member, I have to Oprah documentation like bills and contracts and stuff like that, because I don't get them. And when there's immediate access to certain records like bills and contracts that the council we should review because we're the purse strings, could you minimize maybe the red tape? And since we know that they're open to the public, especially contracts, is there any reason why we can't provide immediate access to contracts that the council approves? No. So that was one additional thing that's there moving forward with this. And again, not allowing me to speak during the open public portion and violating my First Amendment. I think, Council President, you're going down a rabbit hole with that, and I just wish you would stop it. And then lastly, Council President, your memo that you have on September 8th of 2020, I'm sorry, September 18th, I don't know anywhere in the code, because in your memo, you don't cite anything in the code about council procedures. And for some reason, I think you may be wrongfully guided, thinking that you can just create any policy on your own and have the rest of the council and administration, public, and everybody to adhere to it. Basically, your role is to change the order of business, which there is an example of the order of business that we have under 25.7A, and then of course B, the change of order of business. For some reason, I think you just think that you can cut people off, limit their time, and create policy without going through the proper channels of changing an ordinance or by way of resolution. So your September 18th, 2020 council procedures, there's no weight to this and no effect. You did it unlawfully. And you're making us, you're actually saying that we can't even ask questions. Members of the council may not question or comment to other council members, the mayor, or the business administrator, town attorney, or staff present at the meeting. That's ridiculous. You know, when we come to these meetings, we're supposed to ask these questions. The members of the public, they don't see the exchange of emails like the mayor would wish us to do, rather than ask questions at a council meeting. So the members of the public see that we're doing our due diligence and that our administration, our mayor, and other council members are prepared when there's just simple questions that are asked. And I hope you can kind of change that, because it's just going down a bad direction. So with that, I yield my time.
Mr. Alberg.
Thank you, Council President. Yeah, first, I just want to thank you for the opportunity to be part of the Rockaway Unites team. I'm humbled by this opportunity. I think we've all been touched by hate, bullying, intimidation, point in our lives, and to be able to have the chance to make a change for lives in our town. Again, I'm just honored and looking forward to working with everyone on this. Second, I would actually like to thank you for streamlining our meeting process and maintaining an expedient pace. Here we are just shy of 8 o'clock, and we're wrapping up after going through nearly a 4-hour meeting last time. So while I absolutely agree with Councilman Kritz, with the poor audio quality, I would say that it constitutes a mere fraction of what makes these meetings painful. So I thank you for maintaining speed, efficiency, allowing the residents to participate. More than enough time for us to get work done. And again, just being respectful of everyone's time. So thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Brooks.
Thank you, Council President. Just have a few things. Number one, I just wanted to thank all the local police department and the surrounding departments for the actions that occurred the other night in our town. And I was wondering, if possible, can we get a system where we would be able to be alerted that it would be recommended by the police department to stay within our dwellings and whatnot, just to aid in the search of the perpetrator when he was running around the town. But they did a great job on getting that buttoned up fairly quickly. The other thing is, I know we just redid the parking lot at Town Hall, which looks beautiful, but we do have a spot right next to the handicap spots at the municipal building right there, reserved spot for veterans or family members of veterans. And I've noticed several times when I've gone to the municipal building, people go to pull in the spot, and then all of a sudden they realize it and they back up, and it starts to cause a little chaos. So I was wondering, maybe we can paint that spot a little different to represent it, so it stands out, almost like a handicap spot. They put the reason they put it on the ground is so that you see it and you're not pulling in and backing out and it causing a little bit. So maybe administration could look possibly into doing something for that. And the last thing, I just want to commend both the school districts with the startup of the school year. Everything's been going quite well with our hybrid system. Knowles and Hills had a little bit of an issue there with some HVAC system stuff, but they should be rocking and rolling to go back to school next week. And other than that, thank you, Council President. I am done.
Thank you. Ms. Noon.
Yes, just two things. What Mr. Brooks mentioned about the police notification. I was wondering why we got it after the fact and not to say, stay inside, there's something going on. And the second thing is I did get a couple of residents reached out to me asking when we're going back to in-person meetings, and I did inquire about it. And although I do agree that this respects is kind of difficult, I was informed that we can't limit the public. We can't go against what the governor says with I think it's still 25 people, 25% capacity of an indoor dwelling. So that's the reason why we have to be careful with it. So, and that's it. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Sackett.
Thank you, Council President. Just piggybacking a little bit, a couple things. With the meetings, is it possible to take a look at possibly moving them into Copeland or something like that? We do have more capacity. I know we are limited with our capacity building, so that was just something. I don't know if this. I know Rick, so maybe they won't let us in, but just one thing to think about.
Yep.
On September 13th, myself and Councilman Friedlander had attended the Morgan County Remembers 9/11 ceremony. Greg Manning, 33-year veteran of emergency services and 20 member of the FDC, who was assigned to engine 69, ladder 28, on 9/11, gave a very moving recount of his day and his life since then. A lot of elected officials, towns, and our freeholder, and Mikey Sherrill. Very nice moving event. So glad to be able to do that. This Friday, the 25th, 9 a.m., Rockaway Area Chamber of Commerce meeting. We've been having the last few meetings at Christ Church outside, and that's 9 a.m. There. And anyone out there listening, if you're interested in getting involved with the Rockaway Chamber of Commerce, please reach out to me now. This Sunday, like said, we start Yom Kippur, and all who are celebrating Easy Fast. And like Councilman Quinn said, Saturday, October 3rd, the Rockets football will kick off, heading up to Florham Park. Their opening weekend. I'm looking forward to that. And also, Council President Jackson, quickly talking about Uber requests. I know we've had.
I'm sorry, talking about what?
I know we would talk a little bit about Oprah requests. I know there's been probably about 400 years to date. Just wondering, how many has Councilman Kelly had?
He's at over 30. He's had 8 since the last meeting.
Thank you.
Thank you. I'll wrap up with my report. I do agree with Councilman Kritz and everybody's comments, and I have explored different options with administration and with the township attorney around what we can do legally to have an in-person meeting. I like Mr. Sackett's idea of possibly looking at a different venue that might be bigger where we can accommodate more people. I hadn't thought of that. That's a great idea. So maybe we could start exploring that. I'd like to thank the Rockaway Unites team. Like I said, put together a very good presentation. And I think you got some good feedback and some points from the council that I thought were good, especially Mr. Salberg's idea about having clergy involved. I think it's a great idea. So I'll look forward to Mr. Sackett and Mr. Salberg meeting with them and a member from the administration just to make sure we get everything lined up the right way. With that said, I'll turn it over to the mayor for his report.
Okay, thank you, Council President. I just want to address the issue with submitting questions prior to the meeting. It's not my intent to chill anybody's freedom of speech or stop anyone from asking questions. In fact, it's just the opposite. And I've explained this to each and every person. When you submit a question to me, I can give you answers. The administration can give you answers in real time. So when the question is asked, the question can be answered, and it can be answered as thoroughly as possible. When you submit an email to me, you're more than welcome. Each council person is more than welcome to repeat what they asked, and as well as repeat the answer at the council meeting. I just feel that it's better to answer questions in real time. Obviously, in any organization, there's going to be collateral questions that may arise, a simple question that's a yes or no, but anything that's going to require a little bit of research, a little bit of fact finding, it's just more beneficial for each of your wards, each of your constituents that you represent, that I get you the answer as quick as possible. When you don't follow that procedure, you're doing a disservice to the residents of the town in getting the answers as quickly as possible. I want to back up to last week. There were a few questions in terms of towing. Someone, I think Councilman Kelly and a few other people in the public and one or two other council people asked me this question. I went and looked up the answer, spoke to our towing vendors. A question was raised in terms of why we have different insurances. Heavy duty towers, there's state rules and regulations as far as towing. And there's a whole entire outline as to what.
We lost you, Mayor. You're muted. You muted yourself. Unmute yourself. There you go.
Can you hear me?
Yep, we can hear you now.
There's a whole host of rules and regulations for towing. And a light duty tower needs less insurance. That's why there was a disparity between a heavy duty and a light duty tower. So if you tow light duty, and there's a framework that's put out from the state that delineates light duty from heavy duty with actual weights, what you need, what certifications you need, what equipment you need. Your insurance is less if you're a light duty tower. It's more if you're a heavy duty tower. So that was the disparity. Obviously, insurance costs more. Why would we want to charge a light duty tower to heavy duty, make them have heavy duty tower insurance rates? It would be more expensive for them, and it's just not needed. Another question was brought up about inside storage. There is a material, it's been out for 25, 30 years, and I've seen it used myself, although I'm not in the automotive industry. It's called collision wrap. So if there's a car that's parked outside where the interior needs to be protected, in the few cases, and once again, I spoke to our two towing vendors, they've been towing for a long time, and they very, very rarely need to park a vehicle inside. And that would be much more costly to the person whose vehicle is being towed. There is a thing called collision wrap that can be placed on a vehicle to protect the interior of the vehicle from any wet, conditions or any sort of deterioration. Okay, I want to address the rave issue. We try to put those notifications out. The police department handles that. They try to put those out as quickly as possible. We do the best we can. I understand exactly what you're saying, putting something out, telling you to shelter inside. Any sort of investigation, any sort of police action is dynamic, and you don't always get the best results you don't always get the results that you want immediately. So we will try to do better with that. We did put something out. I don't know if Councilman Brooks saw that, if you signed up for the rave alert. We do use that regularly with road closures and whatnot. Peterson Field, if you are happy to be down there, go around the side. You'll see that the new playground has been installed. It's not completed yet, but we're making progress on that. It looks great. It's a much needed improvement over the old playground that was there. There's work that has to be done with the installation. The base has to be installed, and it has to be, adjusted, but it's a work in progress. Go down there. I think what you'll be pleased with. I got a few questions in terms of Halloween, if we're doing any formal events. If I'm gonna let you know that we're probably not gonna be doing any trunk or treat or any formalized town events at this time. I'm waiting for a little direction from the state to see what if there's any restrictions. And I will be putting out something shortly from our health department recommendations if kids are going to be out trick or treating, going house to house, some protocols to follow, some just good practices. And that is my report for tonight.
Thank you, Mayor Puzo. Great information. Appreciate it. Mrs. Seeger, did you have anything to report?
Yes, Council President. I'd like to let you know that the administration and the staff will be working on the budget starting in first week of October for next year for 2021. And the meetings that will be open to the public will be in November. I also would like to state a fact that WebEx was picked by myself and our IT recommendation because it's used by most businesses, and a lot of people who went to free sites had their meetings hijacked and everything, and the IT made the right choice on going with WebEx. Mr. Jackson did not know anything about us doing that. It was totally a decision by administration based on experience and what they had to offer us. It took us time to get used to it, but I think everybody did pretty well tonight getting on. And once everybody mutes, and if you use earphones, we don't get a lot of feedback. And I will look into the points that people asked, and have a nice day.
Thank you. With that said, we are at the end of our agenda. And oh, I'm sorry, Mr. Yachifano, do you have anything you wanted to report? You're on mute if you are.
No report, Council President, other than wishing all our Jewish friends a holy Yom Kippur.
Thank you. With that said, we're at the end of our agenda. Can I have a motion to adjourn?
So move.
Second.
Second.
All right. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All right, the meeting's adjourned. Thank you, Chrissy.
Thank you.
Good night, everybody.
Good night.
Good night.
Good night. Thank you.
Good night.